Hi guys, this is Dan from Magic Pachinko Restorations, back again with a short instructional video. This is a video on the things that I do to test the machines to ensure that I'm happy with them before I ship them to the customer. So I have some tools that I got this directly from Japan. It's an adjustment hammer and the pin gauges and pin height, and there's feeler gauges here, and I have no idea what the feeler gauges are for, so if anybody knows, please leave a comment below. But I use this a lot. This has two different size pachinko balls on it. One is 11.10, 11.10, and the other one is 11.02. The other one is I'm not sure, 4 and 8, but this is the widest ball. So when I put the nails back in, I'll talk about that in just a second, but the gap in the nails, I adjust this to the biggest opening I can, so that this machine will pay out as often as it can, rather than, I'm sure the way they set them in the parlors, they would have set them a lot tighter so that they didn't pay out as much. But obviously when you're playing your own personal machine, you want it to pay out a lot. So I set them to try to get them to pay out as much as I can. So we'll talk about the nails real quick. The nails are supposed to be set at a 4-degree up angle. So if you could look at the nails from the side, you would see all the nails are not perpendicular to the board, but on a slight up angle. I don't measure the four degrees, but I make sure that they're all up. So as I'm looking at the nails right now, you can, if I look, I can see nails that are tipped down a little bit. So it's relatively easy just to go in like this and give them a little tap. I see this one's up a little bit too high. I can tap them down. You can also use needle nose pliers to just go in and grab them. They're just brass, they bend easy. So I do a lot of work with that, trying to get the nails set so that, again, a ball comes down, it should be able to drop straight down and go in. If these nails aren't set right, it'll hit them on the side, and they'll bounce back and forth, and they won't go straight down. You want to make sure that this path is all open and so on. Okay, so that's the nails without getting into a lot of detail. So let me just talk briefly on not the way a pachinko machine works, but on on the way a pachinko machine works. Okay. Oh yeah, we got balls all over the place. Okay, so when you fill the main hopper, the balls are going to run down the upper chute into the turnaround, come across, and go into the jackpot, and then they stop. So that's first. When you put the balls in, you need to make sure they go all the way to the jackpot chamber. Okay, now, there is and again, this is a Nisogen, but on every vintage pachinko machine, they all basically work the same. So this piece right here is on a pivot, and when there is no balls in the machine, it's up like that. This pushes down on the micro switch, turns the light on. It also works off of this pivot here, which brings this up, or I'm sorry, it lets it go down, and internally on the front, a little flag drops, and it won't let balls from your feed tray in, okay? So that's why some people will call me and say, how come I can't feed any balls in? Well, you can't feed any balls in because you don't have enough balls here to get this to change position. So when there's enough balls, the weight shift brings this down, it lifts this up, it lifts this up, and again, it lifts that flag out of the way. So all of that's very important. And then of course the proper position of your seesaw is very important. So that's all stuff you need to be aware of when it starts, okay? Now, when you actually start to play with a machine, there's a number of things that I test to ensure that they work. And again, from machine to machine, they'll be different, but they're all basically the same. So tulips, these are called tulips, and they are designed to be open or closed, one or the other. And when they're open, it's a much easier target for you as a player to get a ball into. When you get a ball in there, the tulip should close. If you get a ball in again in a closed tulip, it'll open. Now, one thing I want you to notice, this didn't open, and it's supposed to on this machine. Not necessarily on your machine, but on this machine, internally there's a path from here to here, and this should have opened like that. So this one is not quite set correctly, and I'll speak to that in just a minute. Let me show you on this side. That's what's supposed to happen with this particular machine. So the first thing that I do once I've got balls in there is I start to drop balls everywhere that balls can drop and make sure that, number one, you get a payout every time, and number two, if certain things should happen, like two tulips opening, they do. So this one needs to be adjusted. Now on a tulip, I should have grabbed a tulip, but if you look in the tulip, there's a brass ramp, and it has two prongs on it. And then the plastic of the tulip is here and here. And so when those prongs go up and down, when they push down, it closes the tulip, and when they lift up, the tulip opens up. So if you have a tulip that's not opening and closing the way it should, it's typically because those two prongs either need to be closer together or a little further apart. And I don't remember which is which, to be honest with you. But you can get in there. The easiest way to do it is to take the tulip off. Either pry them off because they've been nailed in, or unscrew them because they've been screwed in. And then it's much easier to get in there and bend those prongs a little bit. And then you just hold the tulip and start dropping pachinko balls in. And the first one should open it, the second one should close it. Open, close, open, close, open, close, all right? So I'll adjust this one in just a minute. Now I also will check what's supposed to happen in the center attraction. So with this one, this ball may come out because I don't have the glass, but this should drop all the way down through and go into this tulip. Okay, so that's what's supposed to happen with the center tulip. And then let me close these up, just because I know this from practice. When you go down in the side, it'll come over here. And when you go down this side, all right, so both of these tulips are not quite set right because they should open when a ball goes down here like they do on this side. So I'll take these off and adjust them. All right, so that's how you test to make sure that all of your tulips are working and the attractions are working and the pathways are all clear. And I know mine are all clear because I've taken the machine all apart, but if you're not doing that, you may have an obstruction in the pathway. So that's a clue if you drop a ball in and nothing happens, that there's an obstruction back in the guts of your machine, okay? So we've had enough payouts so that the ball out light lights up. And right now, some machines have it, some machines don't. There is a flag. You see it? Yeah, it's right here. All right. Most Nisogens do, but not all of them. And it's not all the way down, but I can continue to launch balls. And now you see what happens. I've got plenty of balls here, but my ball out light is lit, and I'm not able to launch any balls. So, not this flag, but internally there's another flag that drops and blocks the entry path into the machine. And that's because that thing I showed you on the back has done a weight shift change, and it won't let you launch balls. So that's the way it's supposed to work when you run out of balls. That's also a problem with people who don't put enough balls in and call me and say, how come my machine won't launch balls, right? That's the answer. So this is another thing your machine should do, is when you pull back on this, the balls should go from the top tray to the bottom tray. If not, internally, dirt, blockage, so on and so forth. So now when I put balls in, and now that I've got enough balls in to turn the light off, you'll see that little Nisogen flag is gone. And now I can launch balls again. Okay, so we've checked that. That's working the way that it's supposed to. Now, another thing that I test, and I don't think I'm going to do it because it takes a while, but if you are playing and this tray starts to load up, what will happen is the balls internally start to back up internally. And let's assume you got plenty of balls here, your ball out light does not come on, but this just starts to pile up, and all of a sudden you realize balls are coming out into this tray. That's the way it's supposed to work. It just keeps the balls from falling out. They just go through a different path and go down to the bottom tray. So that's all things that are supposed to happen that I test, make sure that they all work on a machine, and those are all things you should test on your own personal machines to make sure that they are actually set up the right way. Okay? Hope it helps. Thanks. All right, I tried adjusting that. I adjusted the tulips, so from the front they would open and close. But what I'm showing you now, and it's nice because the guts are clear. This is the ramp that the ball that goes into the center attraction comes down this ramp, and it's supposed to drop into this tulip. But I want you to notice this piece of plastic right here. This is the side piece that should be over here, not where it is. So when I rebuilt the machine, I mounted that the wrong way. That needs to get turned 180 degrees so that this edge, it butts right up against this. So when the ball comes down the ramp, it's going to hit it and it drops down into here. So let me show you what happens when you, hang on. Okay. All right, where are we? All right, here we go. Watch what happens. You see? The ball is allowed to go by that and not drop in. Now, what that means is I now have to take the guts off the machine because that's behind the guts. But fortunately, it's not that bad. I screw the guts on, so it won't take me all that long to get the guts off. It's probably 15, 20